it's Andrea Troutner. Welcome back to the Attuned Tribe, and welcome back to a new series. We are starting to work this month on the topic of anxiety, also a really common occurrence that we're seeing in our lives today. So something that we definitely wanted to address for you, and I'll get into it more later. But this one is fun and exciting on the level that there have actually been done clinical studies been done with biofield tuning and anxiety, showing how beneficial biofield tuning really is for anxiety. So we will get into that a little bit more later. We're just going to get through some of those housekeeping details here. If this is the first time you're watching us, thank you for being here and welcome. We do have an intro video that is posted on our page if you want to learn a little bit more about who we are and what we do. For today's session, I will again not be recording the actual session. If you'd like to see what a biofield tuning session looks like when you receive it, you can go back to our chakra series. I filmed all of those just for the curious folks, or if you're interested in getting a biofield tuning session, you want to see what it looks like. I have that recorded, so it's not really necessary that you watch me at all. While we're giving the session. That's just for curiosity. So you can go back and watch those, but not necessary to watch, and it won't be filmed today. It'll just be audio. So what we're doing is a group biofield tuning session where I will be tuning into the group energy of anybody who will ever watch this video, and working on what comes up in the collective for addressing this specific issue of anxiety. So we will also post in this series a Reiki attunement as well as an inner child guided meditation. Both of those will also be on anxiety. And so we kind of cover one topic per month. Please go back to our page and check out everything that we've covered so far, including depression, healing the heart, and as I said before, that full chakra series. If you are interested in learning more about biofield tuning, you can check out biofieldtuning.com. Tons of information there. You can also feel free to contact me. Comment below if you have questions. But basically, biofield tuning is kind of a combination of sound healing and energy work that has been proven to work at a distance. So basically, your job during a session is just to lay back, close your eyes, relax, and notice what's happening for you in your body. Breathe and notice. That's basically it. Pay attention to, obviously what I'm talking about, and see if that resonates for you. Not all of it probably will, because as again, we are doing a group collective. And so this is a take what resonates and leave the rest, and know that that your specific benefits are in there somewhere as well, right? But if you'd like to go deeper, if you would like a fully personalized session, please comment below, or click on the links that you will find in the description box that will lead you to our booking pages, okay, for Maxine and myself for our different respective sessions. Also, try not to fall asleep during these sessions. Sometimes that's what the body needs and it happens, but we really encourage you to try to be alert to what's happening for your body. So let's get into a little bit more detail here about anxiety and how biofield tuning addresses it, or where in the body we're going to be working today. We use a pendulum to determine where we're going to work. The only time I didn't really do that is when it was already obvious. With the chakra series, we worked our way through healing the heart. Obviously, we're going to work through that. But for depression, we kind of know more or less where we usually see that come up in the body. We have the biofield tuning map that Eileen McCusick, our founder, has really kind of mapped out where in the body we typically hold things. This is not a hard and fast rule for everybody. The body can store any one thing anywhere in the body. So, but as a general rule, this is where we usually see things. Now, she doesn't have anxiety specifically listed here. And so, as I was saying, we use a pendulum. That if you're here in the office with me, I will swing this over each chakra, and if it circles, it tells me that everything is running well in that chakra, and if there's a line, then it shows me that there's a disturbance in your energy field in that area. And so basically, we're letting the body lead us and show us your most important priorities of what it feels like needs to be taken care of. And that's where we determine where we're going to work and what we're going to work on. But because we're choosing these topics in advance, I checked with the pendulum in advance as well to say, we don't really have anxiety specifically listed on our map. Where should we be looking? Where should we be thinking about when we're addressing anxiety in the body? And so it could be a little bit more personalized for everybody, depending upon what's driving your anxiety, right? There could be several different factors there playing into it, but the ones that came up were the third eye, which makes sense because that has to do with either thinking about the past or the future. I think that's really key, a really key piece of anxiety, because I think we tend to experience anxiety when we're not living in the moment, right? We're pulled out in the future, we're pulled back into the past. And actually, a lot of people, you'll hear people say that the anxiety is the worrying about the future part, and depression is more the worrying or thinking about the past or ruminating in the past. So I could definitely see how the left side of your third eye can play into anxiety. The next one that came up was our solar plexus. And this is where we can hold a lot of anger and powerlessness. The powerlessness, I think, is what makes a lot of sense to me. If we are living in a state of powerlessness for a prolonged amount of time, that it makes sense that a sense of anxiety would come up, that we feel that we're not in control of things, or in control of our life. So that's one aspect that came up. And then the root, which was not surprising to me that one came up. That is where we hold a lot of issues concerning busyness, overdoing, and overthinking, and things that we want to be doing, being, or having, and our unmet needs. So also makes a lot of sense to me there, when we live in these prolonged states of too much busyness and overthinking, or having unmet needs, the body just gets like all tangled up and it's like, I can't keep doing this, right? Now the other one that came up, which I thought was really interesting but also not totally surprising, is the knees. And we have not yet addressed the knees on this page. And so what we see in the knees is challenges with attachment and letting go, and or challenges moving forward. And that can include, having confusion or, obstacles that we're constantly bumping up against that make it difficult to move forward. So again, kind of makes sense where that can tie into anxiety. If we feel like we are constantly have obstacles that we're dealing with, challenges with attachments, letting go so that we can move forward. And so then I tested one more time to say, okay, so which one is the most important one for today, or where should we really work from? And it brought me to the knees and the left side of the knees, which is that challenges with attachment and letting go. The other thing to note about that is that a lot of times when there are multiple chakras that come up to say, hey, I'm part of this, that we will just work on the lowest chakra, because the energy flows up and it will help hit and address all of those chakras above it. So I kind of get the sense that that is one of the big reasons why we're going to be working from the knees today, because it's going to flow up and kind of like hit all of those different chakras and all those different pieces and places that play a part in our experience of anxiety. So I am excited and interested to work with the knees, like I said, because we have not done that before. So that's the plan for today. But let's talk a little bit more before we get started about really what anxiety is. It's interesting, right? Because I have personally experienced it in the past and feel significantly recovered from it with the help of biofield tuning, other somatic practices, as well as I would probably say that some supplements that I've taken have benefited as well. But really, I feel like anxiety is the body's alarm system going off, just like alerting you that you have maybe been ignoring things for too long or living in one of these prolonged stressful states for too long, and the body's just not liking it and is like no longer okay with it and has hit its limit and is saying something's got to change. I can't keep living like this. I can't keep handling this situation at this level. So it's that perceived overwhelm, in these stressful thoughts and feelings, things that we've shoved down too long, whether that be emotion, worries, or living in a prolonged state of uncertainty. That's really when I noticed it spike up in my life. There was a lot of uncertainty and a lot of change going on, but none of those changes were exactly getting implemented. Like, we knew that things were going to change, but didn't know how they were going to change. And that created, a huge sense of uncertainty, a huge sense of stress. So it was interesting the way I experienced it, because I think that I was so overwhelmed and kind of in that shutdown state that I was really confused by this anxiety coming on and didn't recognize it as anxiety, and felt like there was something else going on with me, something that was just like a purely physical cause, which I think is probably maybe what happens for a lot of people, because anxiety is very physically experienced and very physically felt. Racing heart, difficult to breathe, dizziness, and this like a sense of like really feeling like your body's kind of out of control. Maybe you felt like, you were having a heart attack or thought you were going to die, right? Like a lot of people experience a panic attack like that. And so those symptoms are not all in your head, right? Like anxiety is not just a in your head thing. It's a very real physiological thing. And it is this very real alarm system that's going off in your body saying this is too much, right? And so, it's one of those conditions that really draws our attention to the connection between mind and body, how interwoven they are. And when we are dealing with mental and emotional stress, how that truly affects the body and can start to cause a very real breakdown. When they told me that that's what was going on for me, I was like, I'm not scared. I'm not even, I would have panic attacks and be like, I'm not even scared of anything right now. Why is this happening? I'm not scared. It's like nothing's happening right now. But it wasn't a right now thing. It was like the whole thing. It was my whole life. I said, well, I do have this, and this going on in my life, but like, I'm fine. And the doctors would look at me like, you're fine, huh? You have all of that going on and you're fine? I don't know. Maybe you're not fine. Maybe this is your body saying you're not fine. And while that was a little bit difficult for me to hear at the time, they weren't wrong, right? Like, it was a combination of me being able to understand that your uh, mind can have very real effects on your body, and just learning what anxiety looks like. It's kind of an interesting trip. But I'm guessing that if you're here watching this with me right now, you kind of understand what I'm talking about. Um, so let's get into what I mentioned previously, just before we wrap this up, where I mentioned that this is one topic where we have done actual clinical studies um, with Biofield Tuning. And you can look up those studies. The results were super easy to find online. I typed in Biofield Tuning anxiety study. I think that's all I typed in. And so you're welcome to go find that if you want to look more into the details. But essentially, they saw a clinically significant result with a decrease of anxiety after just 3 sessions. And those sessions were all done remotely also. And so that's, a really important part of the puzzle to understand how effective this can be just in a distant session over Zoom or where we are together here today on YouTube, right? So, so these have been clinically studied and proven to be effective at a distance. Their perceived stress went down, and they did questionnaires, right, where everybody answered certain questions at the beginning and at the end, and their results at the end, they could no longer classify these people as having anxiety based on their responses. We're in good territory here, people. This is something that has been clinically proven to work, to be beneficial, to be helpful. So comment any questions below that you might have on that. And like I said, very easy to look up the full study details online if you're interested in reading more about that. But okay, I've jabbered long enough today. How about you get comfy and we'll get started. Okay, let's get started here. Just find yourself in a comfy spot. Lay back, relax. Remember, your job is to notice and breathe. Notice what's happening for you. Notice what comes up for you. If your body's asking you to express emotion, please give yourself time and space to do that. If you need to pause the video, if I'm moving too fast, please take time to do that. This is really about you noticing what's coming up for you and taking the time and space to honor it, to allow it, okay? Because it's not just about, having something come in and affect you and change you. You need to be a willing participant. And by you showing up here tonight, that shows some willingness. But sometimes as we move into the session and these actual memories and feelings and issues start to arise, staying willing, being willing to stay with it, being willing to allow the process to work its way fully out and through your system. That's how we get the benefit. So really be present with your body today, tonight, and really allow the chance for these things to arise and fully make their way out of your system. Allow for the balancing, allow for the adjustment, okay? And, pay attention to what your body is asking of you. Okay, so nice deep breath as we settle in here. I'm going to start by adjusting our negative battery terminal at the bottom of our feet so that we can get nice and grounded and start from a strong foundation. I'll be telling you the things that I notice as we go along tonight, what I'm picking up in the collective energy. And as I mentioned, take what resonates and leave the rest. This is a group session, so it may not all be relevant for you, and that's okay. Doesn't mean it does not have benefit. So think of yourself as a screen door, a filter, where you're able to keep what you need and let the rest pass through. Okay, so we're just really settling in here. Tell people when we're balancing this energy center to think of themselves, if you're not already there, to think of yourself at home in your most comfy, cozy space. Just really, burrow down into your covers if you have your furry friend with you. Whatever makes you feel happy, cozy, comfy, and safe. Just mentally bring yourself there if you're not already there right now. I just want to lock in here, lock into this peace, this coziness, this comfort. Just looking to have that sense of and feeling of being at home. Being at home in our body, being at home in our spirit. Nice deep breath and settle in even further. Okay. Now we want to activate the central energy channel. This is the energy that comes in through the bottom of your feet and goes out through the top of your head. Really, it's a 2-lane highway. There is energy that comes in through your head and goes out through your feet as well. Right now, we're activating what comes in from your feet. We want a nice, smooth, strong running river through the center of your body with no blockages. And we don't want that energy running too fast or too slow. Balanced, even, steady. Okay? And this alone, our opening sequence, can do wonders for anxiety by itself, right? Because we're going to ground you, we're going to get your energy running in a nice, steady state. And we're going to reconnect you to the earth and to the sun, our main energy sources. So that's holding you in the present moment. We're balancing out that energy flow. So sometimes in sessions, if I'm working with somebody, we may not even make it past this point, either because maybe that's all we need for the day, and we just want to take it slow, or if it's pre-planned, or if we just find that there's a lot of work that needs to be done, do we have the ability to ground? There just might need to be a lot of focus on getting that energy running in a smooth, steady, balanced state. And I could see that coming up with anxiety a lot. Right now, surprisingly, the fork is sounding a little bit soft to me. Yeah, I feel like I try not to have expectations, but with anxiety, you're gonna think of that amped up, really agitated, like, loud, annoying, like kind of energy, and that's kind of what I thought that we might find tonight. Um, that's not what I'm noticing so far. I apologize if I have a little bit of sniffles tonight. What I'm more noticing is that um, the signal seems really dissipated, like it's scattered, right? I think that's would be um, the best way to describe what I'm noticing so far is that the signal feels scattered, like we're spread too thin, like literally the scatterbrain. Um, and It is getting a little bit louder here now. It's getting, and then not, of course. So it's just finding its balance. But there is, um, I'm just noticing. And I encourage you to notice too. How does this feel in your body so far? Um, frayed. That's the other word I'm hearing. Like the edges feel frayed. Um, so when we think about this river that's running through the center of our body, this river of energy, um, it's like there's too many tributaries like running off of it. Like the main river is not very strong because there's too many of all these little branches where all the energy is just draining out and draining away, um, because it's just totally scattered all over the place. We've got our energy just, being distributed and dissipated in like a million different directions. And so it's like we need to gather ourselves and gather our focus and gather our strength back up into like one main artery, right? Um, it's interesting what the body shows me, what the forks will show me, because like I said, if I would have imagined what I might find tonight, that's not what I would have imagined. I would imagine maybe we'd see, a river flowing out of its banks and just being just overwhelmed and rushing and flooding like everywhere. Um, but it's scattered and frayed. So that it does make sense. Where we've just our thoughts are all over the place. Our energy is being pulled all over the place. And there is some loudness here and there in the signal too that's working its way into balance. Um, so there's moments of strong agitation in here. And then we get these quieter moments of like, I think just like, overwhelmed and exhausted from all of it. Where it's just like we get the wired and tired, right? Like um, we go, and then we crash. I remember the feeling of what it's like to recover from having a panic attack, from an anxiety attack, um, and feeling just bone tired, exhausted. once the symptoms have finally left my body. I would shake. I would get full body shakes. I think that was my body's way of trying to work out the excess energy that I had stored up. But I would just feel exhausted when my body was finally done with it. And so I'm noticing that that both of those things are showing up right now. They're both present. The exhaustion and the amped. They're both here. But we're starting to come into a little bit of balance here. I'm actually starting to get a bit of a coherent flow. See if we can keep it steady here for a minute. Yeah, that's feeling good. There's a nice tone in the fork. It didn't feel overly loud. Okay. So now let's just ground that in, okay? We've got this nice flow going. I've got our energy in kind of a more balanced state here. So if you want to see those roots growing down out of your feet, way down deep into that nice, rich, dark, deep soil, way down in there, so we can grab on with those roots, have a nice, strong foundation. We want to be able to grab up whatever nutrients we need and release whatever we don't need. I know I've had a couple people tell me that that feeling of being rooted down in one spot could make them feel anxious sometimes. And so while I'm just getting a sense today that if you can root your feet in, that feels like it would be the best to have that steadiness and that quietness and that stillness. But if that does still feel kind of obviously we do not want to induce any more anxiety today. So I also suggest to people you can imagine yourself walking on the beach, ocean water, clear, clean, lake, river, barefoot in the grass, also clean grass, right? So barefoot on the sand, in the water, in the grass, if any of those strikes you as feeling more comfortable, more at ease, you can also imagine that. We just really want to lock in, ground in, deeply connect with the earth. Okay, and the gifts of the earth that we're looking to connect with here is that steadiness, that strength, that foundation. It holds us. It steadies us. It really locks us into the present moment, the here and now. That's all that really exists, is this present moment. So really feel yourself here in it. Nice, big, deep breath. Still just a little wobble in here. We want to be strong and steady. I am strong. I am enough in this moment. This moment is enough for me. I'm willing to be here now. Okay, all right, nice work. Okay, so now we're going to move up to the head, and we're going to connect in with the sun energy and also get that central energy channel running, where the energy comes in from the top of our head and flows out the bottom of our feet. And this is our positive battery terminal. Okay, and again, imagining yourself or really relishing and noticing being in your safest, comfiest, coziest spot at home, wherever you feel the most at home, wherever you feel the safest. Just really lock into that spot, really relish it, really sink into it. Here we are. Oh, good deep breath there. So the breath, when you breathe in, you want to imagine that breath is really traveling the full length through your body. You breathe in through your nose, kind of fill up your head, and then as you exhale, imagine that breath running all the way down through your body and out the bottom of your feet. The breath really helps move energy. So we really want to get that full, nice body flush with each breath so that we're releasing any stagnant or excessive energy that is no longer serving us, releasing it down into the earth so it can be recycled, reused, renewed. And also, I don't know if you've ever heard of this little trick. They say that I noticed that like somebody started talking about this. I was like, wow, I've just always done that naturally. So I don't know if you've ever done this naturally, or if you haven't, you can try it out. But if you take 2 or 3 like quick sniffs through your nose and then exhale through your mouth, that helps to, they say it helps to regulate your nervous system. So, a little trick that you could try using in the middle of a panic attack as well. So it's so those quick sniffs and then kind of a real full exhale. Okay. Okay, we're going to get started activating that central energy channel in through the head, out through the feet. And just notice how this is flowing and feeling. Up here, I am starting to feel that buzzing in the head, a little bit of like dizziness, a little bit of like spaciness. similar to something that I might feel during a panic attack. I do start to feel a little tightness through the center of the chest that's going all the way from my back to the front. So picking up on some of those anxiety symptoms in this space a little bit more here. Keep breathing and pay attention to what's happening in your body right now. How does this feel for you? What have you been noticing so far? You can comment on the video afterwards. Let me know what you noticed. How do these forks feel for you? I got a kind of a big hit of it right as soon as we started working on this energy channel, but it's dissipated. I'm still noticing it a little bit, kind of in the brow area. And so the flow of energy here is feeling that more agitated feeling that I was talking about earlier. And now that I'm thinking about it, it does make sense to me that when we were at the feet, you know, to be noticing more of that like exhaustion that comes with it. And at the head to be noticing more of the actual amped up feeling. I'm getting really warm right now, also as I'm talking about this. So I'm feeling like we need to slow it down. You know, a lot of times we need to take control of our breath, right? During moments of anxiety, really fill up your whole rib cage. Try and hold it for a few seconds. Okay, and then slowly release. So at the head, you know, this is where we connect with the sun. So, you know, that's I'm getting that heat, I'm getting that energy, the hot, you know, the whole bit of it. Okay, it is starting to pass for me a little bit. I'm at least cooling down a little. My head still feels a little dizzy. Maybe a little wave of nausea in there. That's a pretty common symptom as well. My feet are sweating. Palms are a little sweaty. Also very common symptoms. But the flow is getting better. It's definitely... it's not too fast, but it's still kind of working on getting into another, its own steady rhythm here. Oh, and okay, see if your body wants to move a little bit. You know, when we're having a panic attack, when we're stuck in a state of anxiety, it's a lot of excess energy, right? So a great way to get rid of excess energy is to use it, to move, okay? Moving to be able to use up that energy, help it exit a little bit faster. So see if you want to shake it out. If you need to stretch, you can even get up and move, okay? You don't have to be stuck to your bed or couch laying down here if it feels better to move. Allow yourself to do that. So this is really about paying attention, tuning into what your body is asking for. So your body might give you some clues and some hints and some tips here. What feels good for me to help move through an anxious state? Oh. Yawning helps move energy. Burping helps move energy. So I'm noticing some of these things here. My ears are kind of plugged. Just kind of being hit with all of it up here at the head. You know, we've got this spinning mind, this busy thinking, this really frazzled brain, frazzled nervous system. Our cortisol is all jacked up. Making tones, making sounds. I'm just continuing to kind of shift and move here as well. Some little waves of heat moving through again. More heat. Yeah, and this this flow of energy is not balanced yet. It's just, it feels a little jagged still. Working on finding the balance. Right side seems to be flowing a little bit better than the left at the moment. Take a nice deep breath. Think a couple more breaths and we'll be there. Okay, that's feeling good. Let's stick with it. Nice deep breath. Cough out anything that's in the way, any blockages, any debris. Okay, that's feeling pretty good. So now we're going to connect directly with the sun here. Okay. And today, you know, for the purposes of what we're dealing with, let's think about that nice soft glow of the sun. Right? You're you're laying out in the sun. It's not too hot. Just feel how it's comforting you. How just this soft warmth just feels so good, covering your body, running all the way through you. There's a gentle breeze. You're laying down outside. Deep breath. You know, we think of the sun as being, you know, having a lot of energy. It's fire energy, you know, which can be really amped up, but it's not always. You know, we can lay outside and feel calm and feel relaxed, and feel regulated by connecting to that energy. It's a strength. It's steady, it's constant, right? So let's let's connect into those elements today. And it's soothing. It's a soothing warmth. So just allow yourself to be soothed and held and warmed and comforted by the sun. Okay, that's feeling very good now. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Okay, so we have completed the opening sequence. We are operating from a nice, strong, steady foundation. And we're going to move on to working directly with the left side of the knees now. The knees is a minor chakra, not one that's always talked about, but an energy center nonetheless. And it does hold information here just the same as any other chakra. So, and as I said, I also feel what's going on here tonight is, the solar plexus, the root chakra, and the third eye were also indicated as, being strongly connected with anxiety. So by working on the lowest chakra, we're going to let the energy flow up and touch all of those centers as well. But we will get started combing through the left side of the knees and seeing what there is to see here to help locate and calm the areas where we have static in the signal that's causing anxiety for us. Static in the signal can be caused by moments of trauma or unprocessed emotion. So that's what the fork is going to help us locate tonight, these moments of trauma, unprocessed emotion, and also specifically when we are on the left side of the knee, it's that challenge of letting go. Yeah, so as I move the fork through the early childhood years, which at the outer edge of our biofield, we find, our earliest years of life. And as we move our way in towards the body, we move up towards the present moment. So when we start, we're at the beginning of our life. And the fork is feeling like loud and shrill and like it's kind of hurting my ears, and it's like annoying, and I'm hearing specifically kind of shocking, so anywhere that you grew up in a chaotic household where there was a lot of anxious energy running around all the time, constantly being shifted around, feeling like maybe a lot of you didn't grow up in just one household. Maybe you were split between multiple households, that you were, being shared with parents or other family members, whatever the case might be. Potentially foster system, being jumped around a lot. I'm noticing that the jumping around, the chaos, the constant motion, the having little time to settle and rest. And I'm also feeling like there could be some physical issues early on that that maybe caused this constant sense of anxiety too, like babies that have colic or heartburn or some kind of issue, ache, or pain that was not easily recognized by parents, family members, or doctors. But the baby was feeling under, some kind of agitation, pain, discomfort, stress. That was not that it was necessarily being ignored, but that could be the case where they just thought that you cried a lot, right? And they didn't know what to do with you because you cried all the time. But maybe they were really trying, and there could be stress in that too, right? You're like, mom was freaking out because she couldn't figure out what was wrong with you or how to help you or how to calm you. And meanwhile, you were feeling very real physical symptoms that it was, you were doing your best to communicate, your body was doing your best to communicate. Um, you know, Potentially parents were trying to figure it out, obviously trying to figure out how to soothe you regardless. Um, Yeah, but that's really sticking out for me now in those obviously very early years where we weren't able to communicate, what hurts and what feels bad, but feeling a lot of discomfort in our body. So anxiety from caregivers because they can't help you, and then you reactively feel that stress. And that you're surrounded by anxiety, but then feeling your own anxiety as well because you don't feel good and because you can't communicate any better than you already are. Something's moving there. So wherever that may have been true for you, whether you remember it or not, whether you were informed about it or not, and for whoever that might be relevant. So when we find these moments, what we're looking to do is, the fork is doing its work by helping to balance out the signal from that distorted, frozen moment in time. But your job in that moment is to try to express any stuck emotion around that, and potentially to also offer yourself compassion, offer yourself the things that you needed in those moments that you weren't able to get from other people around you. We can't change that you didn't get what you needed in the moment. All we can do now is to offer it back to yourself. Okay? So really connecting with that part of you, figuring out what did you need that you didn't get, and really reaching into your own heart to offer that part of you the thing that they needed that they never got in that moment. We are reaching back in time here. We are melting down this frozen moment in time, regaining access to it, and being able to affect it in a real way. So finding that part of yourself and soothing them. What do they need to help soothe them, to calm them? I feel the signal really calming down here. Nice deep breath. Stick with that part of you as long as you need. The fork is ready to move forward on my end and find another frozen moment. Starting to feel a little tightness in my chest. I know that I'm in those early elementary years. And this feels like, this just feels like wanting to be liked, like wanting friends, wanting to be liked, wanting to be accepted, wanting to do the right thing, be the right thing, to get praise and acceptance in school. I feel like it's mostly from peers is what this is feeling like. But notice however that might be relevant for you, how that's showing up for you. Early elementary years. Just wanting to be liked. That's what I'm feeling here. So, I feel like, these are still ages where we were too young to even understand what anxiety was, what it felt like, what it meant. So there's there's not recognition always of being like, oh, I had anxiety when I was in kindergarten, but it's just, it just happens in some of these circumstances, right? Especially this social anxiety, how to act around people, especially when you're first getting introduced to that, right? Some of these first social situations, interacting with large groups of children your own age, everybody's a little different. Where am I going to fit in? Who do I want to be? And depending upon, what you've experienced up until that moment, what kind of environment you were raised in up until that moment, can help determine how your system responds to this new stress, right? If you were able to grow up with, relatively regulated parents, regulated environment, sometimes that means that you'll respond better. But sometimes, regardless if you grew up in a regulated situation, you just might be wired to be more sensitive as well. And to just feel and notice these strong emotions, the emotions of others around us, right? So for highly sensitive individuals who can really sense their environment, I'm picking up that can be part of this too. Like this could be, just like those beginning kind of first times that you're starting to notice, not even that you would really recognize, oh, I'm feeling everybody else's stuff, but your body is, I guess, going to school, where maybe at home, right, you were always really maybe around 3 or 4 people or whatever the case was, but now you're in school, you're in a class of 30 kids maybe, and a whole building full of people. That's a lot of emotion. That's a lot of different personalities. You're away from mom and dad. You have a new person who's in charge of you that you're supposed to be listening to and paying attention to. There's a lot of information hitting you and your system all day long, which can be very overwhelming for young bodies, young minds. And so that early adjustment to these new environments, we're just going to help bring in a breath of fresh air, a little bit of ease, a little bit of peace, a little bit of comfort. Just finding that part of yourself, however that's showing up for you, whatever piece of that feels relevant. And just take a deep breath and offer that back to them. See if you can get them to breathe with you, just really sitting with them, holding their hand, if it's at lunchtime or on the playground, where you can find a moment to breathe and sit and relax just for a second. Okay, again, stay with that part as long as you need to. The fork is moving forward again. Feel like we're jumping up to late teenage years now. Definitely in the late teens. And I'm just noticing here, so inviting you to do the same. When you bring yourself into this space, somewhere around 19 years old, okay, we are not forcing ourselves to find anything. We're not trying to work hard with our brain to try and locate a specific moment. It's about breathing and staying present with how your body feels and noticing what comes up. Noticing how this space around 19 years old feels. I'm feeling pretty dizzy again. Like I feel like I've really got myself worked up here. So now, we've moved on to the point where, we've got a lot more knowledge, a lot more awareness, a lot more life experience under the belt, but also just time where we have built up, emotion. This age, we still got a lot of hormones really moving. And a lot of life changes, right? Lots going on around 19 years old, trying to figure yourself out, where you want to go, who you want to be, who you want to be with, what you're going to do with yourself, what you're going to do with your life, and it feels like kids that age get bombarded from the outside world with all of those questions and pressures. Everybody wants to know, where are you going? What are you doing? What are you going to do? Who are you going to be? And I feel my head spinning, right? And that pressure, right? To figure this stuff out and to know the answers to these questions. And I just feel like, just so much of this rumination going on and these swirling thoughts. Who am I? What am I going to be? What am I going to do? Where am I going to go? Who am I going to be? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? And so they're just like getting really, 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 really spun up in your head. So just breathe and breathe some more. And know that there's plenty of time. Plenty of time ahead of you. Plenty of time to figure this out. And take a moment to just kind of like reclaim some power here, right? Trying to not, relegate all of the authority of your life out to these outside figures, right? Who are demanding these answers from you. Teachers, mentors, parents, family members, whatever that is. Just take a moment to just breathe and stand in your own power, okay? Your 19-year-old self. And just say, I'm allowed to make my own decisions. I'm allowed to choose for myself. I'm allowed to sink in and feel what it feels like to just say, what do I want? How do I feel? What feels good to me right now? What feels best for me right now? What do I truly want when I sink into myself? Not keep searching outside, not keep listening to my friends and my parents and my mentors and the teachers and the TV and social media and the everything else. Stop. You're allowed. You are allowed to be your own unique self, to live your own unique life, and to take your time figuring out what that is. So taking that deep breath and kind of just, if you can imagine them in a little bubble, let's build them a little bubble of peace and comfort and coziness, and just kind of like where time can slow down for a moment for them, right? A little bubble where time can slow down for them to breathe and just sink into just me, okay? It's only me, myself, and I who has to live with this life. So what do I want for myself? Claim that power. You've got all this autonomy in this bubble. It's just you, okay? So these are just a few of the places in life where we might commonly get stuck, where we might commonly get spun up and spun out. Okay, remember we're working with the collective tonight, and so these are areas where collectively there has been a lot of energy stuck and gathered around these areas. These common occurrences that we all move through. Most of us move through, right? Nice, big breath. We're coming in closer to the body now. Moving up closer to this present moment. What's stressing you out today? What's stressing you out right now? What is holding you captive in your life right now? What are the pressures and stressors and decisions that need to be made that have you all bottled up? Like I feel like everybody's bodies are going rigid and tight, just like locked down in like this stress posture, right? And like that catatonic, like muscles, like everything is tight, everything's shaking, everything's locked in. Pressure, tight, tight. Like you feel like you could not get any more tight in your body. Ooh, now take a deep breath. My goodness. Okay. Really feel that air come in through the top of your head and let it drift and move through every part of your body, okay? Notice where you feel it the most. I always feel it like it's going right through the center of my chest and out my back, or vice versa. If it's coming in through my back and out through my chest, but it's like a stake that drives through the center of my chest. And if your throat gets tight, your breath gets short, okay, let those lungs expand. Bring that breath in. Okay, really, really stretch those lungs. Fill them as much as you possibly can, and hold that breath just for a couple seconds and let it all rush out. Okay, one thing that has helped me over time is recognizing, as I look back on my life, how everything has a way of working out. Maybe it's not what I always wanted in the moment. Maybe it's not what I always expected in the moment. But for the most part, things have a way of working themselves out. And even if I couldn't recognize it at the time, even if it didn't feel that way at the time, and there's truly some, sad, horrific, traumatic things that happen that it's difficult to say it was for the best. And, with the exception of those things that we just genuinely need to get through, get over, recover from, these things that we ruminate about, that we worry about, that we stress about, these everyday moments, schedules, calendars, expectations, deadlines, work, all of these things that just weigh us down in the day-to-day. Just give yourself some space. Build that bubble around you now, okay? Really feel it in your present moment self. How this bubble of peace wrapping you up, holding you. We're slowing time down inside that bubble so you have time to get things done. You have time to think it through. You have time to rest. There's enough time in this bubble for everything. Okay, solutions exist inside this bubble. So breathe them in. Okay, don't go looking for them, just allow them to be here with you. Breathe them in, let them soak in through your skin. This peace, this contentment, this space, this time. It's all here for you right now. Another nice, big, deep breath. Expand those lungs. Stretch them out. Notice if your body wants to move. Okay. We're dropping all of this stuck energy back into the center of the chakra now. So just notice if your body wants to like shake and move to like get it all out. Okay, we want it like every last little drop to drip back out into the center of this chakra so it can be recycled, reused, renewed. And we're going to do something different with all of this energy, okay? This excessive energy, this energy that was stuck, okay? We're dumping it all into a bucket. Dump it all out, shake it all out. The excessive energy, the stuck energy, the ruminating and the spun up energy, letting it all drip out. If you got to get more buckets, get more buckets. Keep filling them up, filling them up, filling them up. Okay, breathe again. There we go. It's all drained out now. And now, breathe again. And start to imagine and daydream and play in your mind about what you could do with all this energy. What you could do with all of this stuck energy that was like spun out there, that was not being useful, not being helpful. It was just spinning uselessly. Well, now we've got it back into a state where it can be used, okay? It's usable energy. It's accessible energy. What are you going to do with it? How do you want to use it? How do you want things to look different in the future? So as you come at these same kinds of moments again, these moments where you have experienced anxiety in your life, these moments that were anxiety-inducing, these common situations, these specific situations, however it's showed up for you, wherever it's showed up for you, how do you want those moments and situations to look differently as you move forward in your future? What could you do with all of this new accessible energy, and how can those future moments look different for you? We're just going to let this one run all the way out. Okay. I'm going gonna grab our pendulum and retest at the knees and see how that chakra center is flowing now that we have gone through and rebalanced this. And we have a circle, folks, which means it is running well. I'm also just going to move up and double check our solar plexus, which is also a circle. Oh, that's right. We had the root in there too. Show me the root. Circle. And the third eye. Also a circle. So the energy flowed up and affected all of these areas and chakras that were included tonight. So just take a deep breath into that and just feel some of that peace, some of that relief in knowing that we have affected change tonight. Okay, so now I'm just gonna integrate some of that change. Okay, we're informing your whole body and your whole system that we've made changes tonight. Connecting your will with divine will, whatever that is and however that looks for you. Okay, that you may put great power and intention into this new found energy, this newly accessed energy. And I'm going to wrap you up in a sweet little cocoon so that you can carry forward that bubble of comfort and peace always and forever as you move forward with this day, this week, this month, this year. Okay, come back to this space, come back to this bubble, come back to this peace. And breathe. And know that you are enough in this moment and always. Okay, wonderful work today. Give yourself some extra care and attention over the next couple days if some of this wants to continue to process. And again, if you feel like you want to address this on a more personal level, if you want to go deeper, remember the clinical study that they did showed pretty much complete clearance of symptoms within 3 to 6 sessions. So sessions can be done weekly. You can listen to this video on repeat if you want, but you really might benefit from having a personal session as well, so we can get into the deeper issues of what is exactly driving your anxiety. So please don't hesitate to contact me. But in the meantime, take care, relax, and be well.